Let's continue in the book of prayer, level 3. After we went over the prayer times in general by reviewing the hadith in which Gabriel alayhi salam taught our prophet the prayer times alayhi salatu was salam, and then going over Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, and Isha prayer times in detail one by one, and then digressing to talk about combining and shortening. Now we arrive at the dawn prayer so that we can talk about it on its own. And so the author says, immediately afterwards, meaning after Isha, is SubH prayer, dawn prayer. Called so because of being performed at daybreak. Daybreak means when daytime first comes in. That's the beginning of the daytime, Fajr time. It is also called Fajr as opposed to the Malikis. But I need to review there. What's the issue with the name of Fajr for the Malikis? Gabriel's hadith proves that Fajr time starts when true dawn, which is the second dawn, the horizontal eastern light, appears to us, not in reality. Yani, Gabriel's hadith proves that Fajr time starts when the true dawn appears to us, not when the true dawn starts in reality. Because in reality, the true dawn will start before it appears to us. But it's not permissible for us to pray before it appears to us. So the accurate rule is that the time of Fajr starts when the true dawn appears to us, not in reality. And the true dawn is the second dawn. If the true dawn is the second dawn, then the first dawn is the false one. That means it's not really dawn. It's still Isha time, which is nighttime. And like we said, there could be, before the real dawn comes in, about maybe 20 minutes before the real dawn comes in, there could be a light that shoots up into the sky from where the sun will rise. Then this light, if it does appear, would disappear and the night would still be in. It would still be Isha time. So that light is not the real dawn. That's the false dawn, which is also called the first dawn. The true dawn is the second dawn. You have in the Quran, for your information, 3 names for this time. One is Fajr, when Allah says, Wal Fajr. And another one is As-Subh, when Allah says, Was-Subh. You know that ayah? Was-Subhi idha tanaffas. The meaning of Was-Subh is Wal Fajr, Wal Fajr, Walayalin Ashr. That's Surah Al-Fajr. Was-Subhi idha tanaffas. That's Surah Al-Takwir. And also there's a third name for this time mentioned in the Quran. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ. Al-Falaq. But I never heard that you can call it Salatul Falaq, call it Salatul Fajr, or Salatul Subh. If Falaq has a meaning that Subh and Fajr don't have, I don't know it. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, وَصَلَّى بِيَ الْفَجْرَ حِينَ حَرُمَ الطَّعَامُ وَالشَّرَابُ عَلَى الصَّائِمِ. And he prayed Fajr with me, that's Angel Gabriel, prayed Fajr with me, the Prophet said, on the first day when food and drink are forbidden on the fasting person, When are food and drink forbidden on the fasting person? When the dawn comes in. That's the light across the horizon. And so then Fajr comes in when Isha goes out. And there's no gap in between them. There's evidence right there. So you know it's meritorious time, which is as soon as it comes in. So if as soon as it comes in, you get busy with preparing for prayer and then you pray right away, then you call it the meritorious time, like we said before. That includes making wudu and covering your awrah and finding your qibla and even praying your 2 rak'ats before Fajr and then praying your obligatory Fajr. If you got busy with all of that, as soon as the time came in, that's the meritorious time for Fajr, according to the Shafi'is. So, to catch the meritorious time, it's not a condition that you're already ready and you're just sitting and waiting for the time to come in, already purified, already dressed, already have your qibla, and you're just sitting there waiting to verify the dawn so you can stand up and pray. That's not a condition to catch the meritorious time. Its preferred time includes a slight spread of daylight. Its preferred time includes a slight spread of daylight and does not start there. So its most meritorious time is as soon as it comes in. And then if you don't catch that meritorious time, you still could catch the preferred time. And that preferred time extends until there's a slight spread of daylight. Yani, the daylight, there's a hint, there's a touch, or there's a dash of daylight appearing against the darkness. But it doesn't start there, Yani. It's before that, the preferred time of Fajr, as opposed to the Hanafis. The Hanafis said that the best time to pray Fajr is when the light spread a little bit. But the Shafi'is said even before that, because the Sahaba reported that they would have prayed Fajr and then left to go back home, and it's still dark. You still can't even tell who's in your presence. Yani, you don't see them clearly. And the preferred time of Fajr ends with the spread of daylight. The spread of daylight. So not just the slight spread of daylight, but a more prominent spread of daylight. You can see the blue in the sky now. Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, وَصَلَّى بِيَ الْفَجْرَ بِأَسْفَارٍ, and he prayed Fajr with me on the second day by daylight. So remember, how did the prayer times go when Gabriel taught the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam? He prayed with the Prophet for 2 days. The first day, he showed the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam when the time for each prayer starts. And the second day, he prayed with the Prophet at a time where you could delay the prayer without dislikeness. So, the first day, he prayed with the Prophet ﷺ at the very beginning of each time. So he told him the beginning of the time. The second day, he prayed with the Prophet later than that, later than the very beginning of the time. How late? As late as there's still not a disliked time. It's still not a disliked time to pray. So, inshallah, you'll review that hadith. So, on the second day, he prayed Dhuhr with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam all the way at the end of the time. such that by the time they said the salam to finish Dhuhr, Asr came in. So that proves that you can delay Dhuhr all the way till the end of the time. And on the second day, he prayed Asr with the Prophet when the shadows were double the length of the object. And on the second day, he prayed Maghrib with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam at the very beginning of the time, just like the first day. So then that shows that you shouldn't delay Maghrib. And for Asr, you shouldn't delay Asr more than that much. Better not to. Don't delay Asr like you could delay Dhuhr all the way till the end, such that when you say, by the time you say Assalamu alaikum, the prayer time is out and the next prayer is in. That's disliked for Asr, not for Maghrib, not for Dhuhr. That's disliked for Asr, not for Dhuhr. And on the second day, he prayed Isha with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. When after a third of the night, let's review it together. He said, وَصَلَّى بِيَ الْعِشَاءِ إِلَى ثُلُثِ اللَّيْلِ. He prayed Isha with me by the third of the night. Yes, I remembered it properly. Alhamdulillah. وَصَلَّى بِيَ الْفَجْرَ بِأَسْفَارٍ. And he prayed Fajr with me at daylight. So, on the first day, Gabriel taught the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam the beginning of the times. On the second day, he taught the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam the times that you can delay the prayer until then without dislikeness. So then now there's a question. Where did he teach the Prophet when the prayer times end? The answer is on the first day. Because when he taught the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam when the prayer times start, then he by that also taught him when the prayer times end. Because all the prayer times start when the last prayer time ends, except between Fajr and Dhuhr. There's a gap between Fajr and Dhuhr. So if you delay your Fajr prayer, don't delay it more than that. That's better not to delay it more than what's mentioned here, by the spread of the daylight. After that is emergency time to the Malikis, meaning after that it's haram for you to pray Fajr without an excuse at that time. You still have to pray if you didn't pray, but it's haram according to the Malikis to delay until then. Not the Shafi'i school, it's not haram. The prayer time is an extended obligation. In the Shafi'i school, it's not haram to pray any prayer inside of the prayer time. The Malikis, in their school, there's some times where it's still the prayer time, but it's haram for you to wait until then to pray, if without an excuse. He said, have you heard anything about it being sunnah to wait 10 minutes if you don't know? Maybe you're asking me about if a person is using a prayer schedule. So our brothers and sisters advise, if you're using a prayer schedule for the prayer time, and they mean in particular our prayer schedule that we trust and still could be inaccurate. They're not even talking about someone else's prayer schedule. We don't even know who did it. They're saying our prayer schedule that we worked on and that we trust and still could possibly be inaccurate. Better to wait for 10 minutes after the time that's documented on the paper. But using a prayer schedule is not the original way. So the original way is by using these signs that we're talking about. The dislikeness in some prayers time, I have not learned that it's the same as the dislikeness of Asr time. Praying at the disliked Asr time has zero reward. So I haven't heard that this is the case for other prayers. I mean, Wafiqum. It doesn't have any reward, but there's no sin in the Shafi'i school. There's sin in the Maliki school. If you didn't have an excuse. And when we say praying at the disliked time at Asr time has zero reward, that's if you don't have an excuse. But if you have an excuse, then it's still rewardable. Like you were working and you didn't get a chance to stop to pray yet. Or you were sleeping, you just woke up at the end of Asr time before the sun went down. And then you immediately got busy with your prayer. Then it would be for you, in this case, the meritorious time, just like Asr just came in. You can get full reward. In his Muwatta, Imam Malik narrated that the companions used to pray SubH with the Prophet in Medina, alayhi salatu wassalam, then leave the masjid while still unable to know who was walking away. Therefore, they prayed at the beginning of the time, finishing before the light spread. Without an excuse, it is disliked when the redness intensifies before sunrise. So you want to pray your Fajr prayer before the redness intensifies. The redness in the eastern horizon. And all these things we're talking about here, the redness of the eastern horizon, the daybreak when the dawn first comes in, a slight spread of daylight, and the spread of daylight, and all these detailed intervals. Practice that. Don't just rely on a prayer schedule. Be in tune with the Muslims. Yani, this is how the Sahaba used to do, and the Muslims of old, looking into the sky, looking at the shadows, and things like that. Some of you are converts, so before you embraced Islam, you didn't even used to pay attention to shadows at all. I didn't even used to realize that there was a redness in the western horizon when the sun went down. When I first became a Muslim and I learned about Maghrib time and that Isha comes in when the redness disappears, I went home when the sun went down. I looked out the window. I said, wow, there's redness out there. Look at that. It's true. SubhanAllah. That's the type of thing that happened to you when you're a Kafir. Be so ignorant and oblivious to things. But maybe if you live on the land without electricity, you know those types of things. Even if you're not a Muslim. So it's complete duration. So what about waiting to pray in congregation? Are you asking me, what if the congregation is performed at the disliked time when the redness intensifies? Is that your question? So should you just wait and then pray the congregation at the disliked time when the redness intensifies?
Yes.
I haven't heard. But if that's the case, have a word with your imam. Tell him, why are you praying Fajr at the disliked time when the redness intensifies? So its complete duration is until the appearance of only the upper disk of the sun. Yani, that's when it ends. When only the upper disk of the sun appears. That's it. Fajr is over. Doesn't need the entire rising of the sun. As opposed to Asr's exiting by the entire disk. Yani, Asr time goes out when the entire disk of the sun is down. Fajr time goes out when only a piece of the sun appears. Asr time goes out when the entire sun disappears below the horizon. Fajr time goes out when only a piece of the sun appears. But Fajr time comes in like it goes out. It comes in like it goes out. Meaning, how does it go out? It goes out by only a piece of the sun appearing. That's how it goes out. So how does it come in? By only a piece of the dawn appearing, not the whole dawn. Because when you first see the line across the eastern horizon, the light across the eastern horizon, Fajr's in. So that's the dawn just starting to rise. So it's not by the entire rising of the dawn that Fajr comes in. Only by piece of the dawn rising, Fajr comes in. Also, by piece of the sun rising, Fajr goes out. Because of Muslims' hadith, وَوَقْتُ الْفَجْرِ مَا لَمْ تَطْلُعِ الشَّمْسِ. The Fajr time lasts as long as the sun has not appeared. If mountains block the eastern horizon, then SubH ends according to one's assumption. If there were no mountains, when would the sun first appear? That means you're going to be estimating. You have mountains blocking the eastern horizon, so you can't see the tip of the sun cracking the eastern horizon. So then you have to estimate. Then according to your estimation that the sun would have cracked the horizon, that's when Fajr goes out. If the mountains obstruct your eastern view. And now this is going to recap something we already said, because we already talked about times when it's haram to pray. So now we're just repeating something we already said for the benefit. After praying subh, after you say the salam of the subh prayer, it is forbidden to pray a prayer that doesn't have a reason. We talked about what that means. Until the sun cracks the horizon. So then that means when the sun cracks the horizon, you can pray? No. Then it's still going to be haram to pray when the sun cracks the horizon until it rises the height of a spear. So those two times are connected. Two forbidden times are connected. It's one thing that you finish praying Fajr, but Fajr time is still in. You finish the Fajr prayer and the Fajr time is still in. By finishing the Fajr prayer, you cannot pray a prayer. It's haram to pray a prayer that doesn't have a reason. And we explained what that means in the previous lesson. Until the sun cracks the horizon. So that haram time starts when you finish praying your Fajr prayer. That means if you prayed your Fajr prayer all the way at the beginning of the time and finished it all the way at the beginning of the time, then that's going to extend that haram time until the sun cracks the horizon. And if you delayed your Fajr prayer all the way till the end of the time, then that's going to shorten that haram time, which is going to be from the time you finish your Fajr prayer until the sun cracks the horizon. But then there's another haram time that comes right behind that, which is from the time the sun rises until it gets as high as a spear. And like we said, some scholars said that's all one thing. Really, it's two things. That's two blocks of haram time right there. Some scholars counted them as one because they're back to back. And so some students of knowledge didn't understand this case as thoroughly as it could be understood. Dhuhr time does not start immediately at sunrise, as you know. Rather, it is forbidden to pray while the disk of the sun clears the horizon, yani still rising. Didn't clear the horizon yet means the bottom edge of the sun is not over the horizon yet. So while the sun is clearing the horizon and the bottom edge of the sun has not yet appeared over the horizon, this is a haram time to pray. A prayer that doesn't have a reason. And even after it clears the horizon, so the bottom edge of the sun is now over the horizon, still haram to pray until the sun rises as high as a spear. That's duha time. The sun rises as high as a spear. What does that mean, as high as a spear? Subhanallah. I asked the sheikh about this like he got annoyed with me. Didn't want to clarify for me. It's things like that that make me remember to try to be patient with people who ask me questions. I have to remember sometimes, put myself in their shoes. He was annoyed with me, made me feel like it must be me, until someone asked my same question to me. So I knew it's not just me. So we need to be patient with the people when they're asking questions. What does that mean? Until the sun rises as high as a spear. That means if there were a spear, you know what a spear is? It's like a stick with a tip on it. We'll say how long, but let's keep it general at first. If there were a spear in your horizon, so you're looking as far as your eye can see. You're standing outside and looking into the horizon where the sun rises. So there's a line, which is the horizon. Imagine a spear that it's way far in the horizon, but not so far that you can't see it. You can still see it. So that means it's as if it's small because it's far away from you, but you can still see it. So as if it's small. Of course, it has its own size, but as if it's small because it's far from you, but you can still see it. So when the sun rises over that spear, so the bottom edge of the sun now is at the tip of that spear in the horizon, then you can pray duha. Haram time is over. Except Eid prayer, which starts at sunrise. Eid prayer starts at sunrise, in case you didn't know. Many years I didn't know when does the Eid prayer actually start. It was so ambiguous to me. Nobody said. They always say, oh, we'll be doing Eid prayer in the masjid or the musalla at such and such hour, without saying, well, the Eid prayer technically comes in at such and such time. When does it start? It starts at sunrise. So praying Eid prayer starts at sunrise. So then it's not haram to pray. Yeah, sunrise means when the disk of the sun cracks the horizon. That time when Fajr goes out, because the sun, the tip of the sun, the top of the sun, crack the horizon, that's sunrise. That's when Eid comes in, Eid prayer. So if it's not Eid day, then you don't have Eid prayer. So it's going to be haram to pray at that time, except on Eid. That's when you can pray Eid prayer. But it's better to wait for the disliked time to pass. Yani, better to wait to pray Eid prayer when duha time starts, which is when the sun rises over that spear in the distance. And the stronger saying than, yani, stronger than what I just told you about Eid prayer is that no, not at sunrise. Actually, when duha time starts, which is when the sun rises as high as a 7-cubit spear. 7 cubits is about 10 feet. A 10-foot spear in your distance. So you're not going to see it yani, as 10 feet because it's far from you. It's going to look like it's small. But it's a 10-foot spear that you can still see in your distance, in the horizon. When the sun rises as high as a 7-cubit spear, supposing there were a spear visible to you in the horizon, and as high as 2 spears was said. Some said 2 spears. One spear on top of the other spear, and then the sun rose over that second spear in the horizon. And as high as a palm tree was said in the horizon. That means not next to you, in the horizon. Not a spear you have in your hand, and you say, okay, here's my spear, I'm standing here. Here's my spear right here in my hand. Here's the tip of my spear right here in front of my face. When the sun gets over this tip here, no. In the horizon, away from you. All this explanation I'm telling you now about the spear, I had to put effort to get it. And yani, my heart felt tight because the sheikh acted uh, annoyed with me when I asked him. Even he didn't even finish answering me. I didn't finish getting my answers. He just started as if maybe he had got something. Maybe he got distracted. SubhanAllah. That is about 20 minutes after sunrise. And this duha time remains until zenith. And then when the sun comes out of its zenith, dhuhr time starts. So by that, we finished all the obligatory prayer times. And we're going to stop here. And if Allah enables us, then next week we'll start talking about voluntary prayers. I ask Allah to enable us.
Sheikh Raid, can we ask?
Yes.
I wanted to ask you, when you mentioned the students of knowledge, something about a case, can you repeat that case?
Students of knowledge go through a phase.
No, you mentioned something about like a case where they either didn't understand it properly or something.
I'm not sure what you're asking me about.
You said something. You said about a case, and you said that some of the students of knowledge didn't understand it properly or something like that. That's the one I was asking you if you could repeat it because I missed it.
I'm not sure. I don't remember.
It's okay. It's okay. Inshallah, I'll review. Another question about the
Yes.
spear. About the spear. You
Yes.
said where does it start? Because I missed that too.
Where does the spear start?
Yeah.
The spear is in your horizon, far from you, as far as you can see into the horizon.
Right. So how would you measure it?
It's an estimation.
I understand, but like you were saying where this starts or where that. That's what I was asking if you could repeat
So
it.
7-cubit spear, which is a 10-foot spear, far away from you in the horizon, as far as you can, as far as it can be, but still you can see it. As far as you can still see it. That's it.
Okay, barakallahu
Unless there's
fikum.
something else you can
No,
follow up to it.
barakallahu fikum.
Amin
I
Wafiq.
got it. Thank you.
Amin Wafiq. Yeah, left my heart a little sad when he didn't answer me. That's good, Sheikh. That one I asked. No, I'm only gonna ask someone I think is gonna give me a good answer. I don't ask a lot of people. So when I felt like
Sheikh
he
Raid,
could have been nicer to me. Made me a little bit sad. Yes.
who was asking you about that?
Who was asking me, or who was I asking?
No. Now, a sister that she asked you is the question that you ask your teacher that he wasn't willing to answer or he wasn't happy with you something. That's the one she asked you to repeat it. It's just what you are talking now. That's the one she asking you.
So Duha time comes in when a spear, 7-cubit spear, is in your distance, in your horizon, as far as you can still see it. When the sun gets, when the bottom edge of the sun is over the tip of that spear, then Duha time starts. And some said as high as 2 spears, and some said as high as a palm tree. So if you take those three, that helps you understand the case. It's an estimation here. In the first place, that spear is in your horizon. So that means right there you're going to be doing an estimation. He said in reference to the dislikeness, are the judgments by consensus for all the prayers? I don't know. I mean,
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
If I understood the sister's question, I believe she was talking about where he said that the two harams back to back after you pray Fajr.
Yes.
And then Prince of Knowledge did not understand that.
Okay.
Only that's what he said.
Yeah. Okay. So that goes back to lesson we had already about the haram times to pray. So how many are there? There are 5. Some said there are 3. But saying there are 3 is not accurate. Saying there are 5 is better. So Why some of them said there are 3? Because one of those times starts after you finish praying Fajr. Whether you finish praying Fajr at the beginning of Fajr time or at the end of Fajr time, when you finish praying Fajr, one of those times, haram times, starts. And then this haram time that starts after you finish praying Fajr goes until sunrise. And then at sunrise, there's another haram time. So that means 2 haram times back to back. That haram, the second haram time, ends at duha time, when the sun is as high as a spear. So because those 2 haram times are back to back like that, some scholars said that's one time. They're basically saying from the time you finish praying Fajr until the sun rises over the horizon, the height of a spear. So they counted it like one time. Others, they said, la, this is 2 times. From the time you finish praying Fajr until sunrise, that's 1. And then from sunrise until the sun rises as high as a spear. This is correct, saying the second one. Because it means something else. Those have 2 different meanings. To say that's 2 times, that means something. So that's why that's the right saying, because there's something meant by that. Said the bottom edge of the sun. Yes. Is that not clear? Yani, doesn't the sun have edges? For sure it does. So it has a top edge and it has a bottom edge. So how do you know when Maghrib comes in? When its top edge disappears because it's going down. So how do you know that Fajr time is over? When its top edge appears because it's coming up. So how do you know when duha time starts? When its bottom edge is as high as a spear over the horizon. Is that clear? Sheikh taught us that we know that the sun is created because it has edges. The sun doesn't deserve to be worshipped because it has edges. Alhamdulillah. With the bottom edge, because when we say the bottom edge means the sun has cleared the horizon. The top edge of the sun is going to appear, although the sun didn't finish clearing the horizon. It's going to be still rising. The sun is rising, rising, rising. You see a bit of it, and then a little bit more of it, and then half of it, and then most of it. It still didn't clear the horizon. So we're talking about when the bottom edge of the sun is as high as, yani, is over this spear in the horizon. Is that clear, inshallah? Yes, because the sun is basically as a circle. So the bottom of the circle. I mean, in you too. But what did the wise ones say? They said, be patient with the roughness of your sheikh. I didn't forget that. Still hurt my feelings though. But be patient with the roughness of your sheikh because there's benefit. Yeah, subhanallah. If I'm ever rough with any of you, hopefully it was so that you benefit and wasn't because I couldn't control myself. Any question? Sometimes I'm rough with some of you. I know I am because I do it on purpose. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك